Today we are going to discuss about the LTI system properties in terms of impulse response. So already we know that like if by using the impulse response, we can completely characterize a system, or we can tell that we can completely characterize the input output relation of a system. So now we are going to just relate the impulse response based on the LTI system properties. So what all the properties we are going to discuss is memory, stability, causal and invertibility. So we are going to start with memory. So we know with this thing we know that for any system, if you are telling that the system is a memoryless, then its output should depend only on the present value of input. Okay, so this is for a general system. Now we have to relate this thing with respect to impulse response. What we will do first is, like, first consider a discrete time LTI system. Okay, so like how can we write the output of a discrete time LTI system? We know that output of an discrete time LTI system is represented in terms of convolution sum. That is, I can write like this. See, y of n is equal to x of n convolution h of n. Then you know that based on commutative property, I can write this equation as h of n convolution x of n also. Now expand this. So I can write it as summation k from minus infinity to plus infinity h of k x of n minus k. Now expand once again the summation. So you know that it starts at minus infinity and ends at plus infinity. So I'll start writing, I'll put dot and I start writing from minus 2. Okay, I'm just substituting k is equal to minus 2 first. So my equation will be h of minus 2 x of n plus 2. Then h of minus 1 x of n plus 1. Then h of 0 x of n, etc. It goes up to plus infinity. Now, what we said? We said that the system to be, like, if you want a system to be memoryless, its output y of n should depend only on x of n. Now you see in this equation, which term is having only x of n term. Here you can see that this is x of n plus 2, this is x of n plus 1. The meaning is both these samples depends upon future value of input. Now come to these two, it is x of n minus 1 and x of n minus 2. The meaning is that these two samples depends on the past values of input. So you can see that in this equation, we have only one term which satisfy our memoryless condition. That is, from this equation, I can tell that like um, x of like this if I'm substituting k is equal to 0, then only I'm getting the condition for a memoryless system. That is, for an impulse response, if k is equal to 0, I'm getting an amplitude, let it be 1 or 2 or 10. If I'm substituting k is some other value, that is, it is not equal to 0, it can be plus 1, minus 1 or anything. If I'm substituting some value to k which is not equal to 0, in that case, my impulse response becomes 0, h of k is equal to 0. Then you can tell that whatever the system you have, that is, whatever the LTI system you have, that is memoryless. Okay, so now we are not going to tell in terms of input, we are going to tell in terms of impulse response. So if you want an LTI system to be memoryless, then you have to tell that the impulse response of your system should be 0 for k not equal to 0. So you can tell that your system is memoryless. That is what I wrote here. That is, if you want a memoryless system, that is, output depends only on present input, then the meaning is you should not have any other terms of x of n minus k. That is, my h of k value should be 0 if k is not equal to 0. So I can write this equation as h of k is equal to c del of k. Why I wrote the c is it's a constant. I said no, like we can leave about the amplitude, whatever be the amplitude, but h of k should have only one value. That value is at 0. So that's why I wrote this h of k equation in terms of impulse. Okay, so this is for a discrete time LTI system. Similarly, for a continuous time LTI system, I can write it as h of tau is equal to c del of tau. This also you can like see that this is the constant c and del of tau is your impulse function. So this is what you have to keep it in mind. If your systems to be memoryless, then the impulse response, that is h of k, should be 0 for k not equal to 0. So for k equal to 0 only, you have to get a non-zero amplitude. This is the condition for a memoryless system. Now we are going to the next property. It is causality. Okay, so this also you know that is for a normal system. What is the condition for causality? Output of the system depends only on present or past values of input. That is the condition for causality. Okay, so like we'll do one thing. We'll just take the convolution equation itself. Okay, this is what my convolution equation, that is like what we discussed earlier here, this equation itself. So I'm going to write directly the expanded one. That's what I wrote it in this slide. Y of n is equal to k. This is goes up to minus infinity, h of minus 2, x of n plus 2, h of minus 1, x of n plus 1, etc. This goes up to plus infinity. So this is my general output equation. Now, what we said, output should depend only on past or present values of input. Past or present values means what all the terms will become eligible in this equation. Will this be eligible? This is x of n plus 2. X of n plus 2 is future value of your input. What about x of n plus 1? This is also future value of input, x of n. So I can tell that from minus infinity to 0, whatever the values I am writing or whatever the values I am substituting for k, all that values should be eliminated, or all those samples should be eliminated. Then only my system will become a causal system. That is, I can directly change my y of n equation as summation. It is from 0 to infinity h of k x of n minus k, or you can tell in this way, h of k should be 0 for k less than 0. This is the condition for a causal system. Okay, so whatever we discussed, it was for discrete time LTI system. Similarly, I can write for a continuous time LTI system, that is h of tau should be 0 for tau less than 0. That is the negative side axis. That is the future values. Similarly, I can write my output equation y of t as, instead of the summation, I am substituting it as integral. It is from 0 to infinity h of tau x of t minus tau d tau. This is the condition for causality. Okay, so for memoryless, what I said was x of k should be equal to 0 for k not equal to 0. Then for causality, your condition is h of k should be equal to 0 for k less than 0. Now I am going to the next property. It is stability. We know that at what point of time, we will tell that the system is stable. We will tell that the system is a bounded input, bounded output stable if the output is bounded or it is a finite value for a finite input. That case only we will tell that the system is stable. Okay, so now you take the first equation itself. Which equation? This one. Okay, y of n equal to h of n convolution x of n, or expand and write summation k from minus infinity to plus infinity h of k x of n minus k. Take this equation. Now assume that my input is finite. Input is finite means I can tell that you just assume a value m. Okay, so assume your input is finite and its finite value is equal to capital M. So if I'm substituting instead of x of n minus k, if I'm substituting it as m, can I take that m outside? Because like it's no longer related to the summation, because m is a finite value. It can be 100 or 200, whatever be the value. Okay, so I can take that m outside. So inside the bracket, I'll be having only minus k from minus infinity plus infinity h of k. So this is what I wrote here. Okay, y of n. So first thing, this is equal to. Okay, so absolute value of my output is equal to whatever the finite value you have for your input. Okay, that is mx, I assume. So it is mx summation k from, this is minus, it's not plus, minus infinity plus infinity, absolute value of your impulse response. Okay, so now why I'm writing this as less than or equal to is, we studied this thing in maths, that is, if you have a term a plus b, the absolute value of a plus b will be equal to absolute value of a plus absolute value of b. Or we can tell that absolute value of a plus b is, it will not be greater than absolute value of a plus absolute value of b. That is why here I wrote it as absolute value of y of n is less than or equal to some constant multiplication factor is there. It's with absolute value of h of k. Now, you just see input is finite. Then if you want your output also to be finite, that is, if you want your system to be stable, then y of n also to be finite. So in that case, what should be my condition for impulse response? At what time this y of n will become finite? We can tell directly from this equation, y of n will become finite only when this summation also becomes finite. Then you can tell that y of n, absolute value of y of n is less than or equal to the input value mx multiplied by what is the absolute value you are getting for your impulse response. So we can tell in this way, that is, for an LTI system, your impulse response should be finite. Then only I can tell that my output also finite. Then I can tell this system is stable. So I can directly write my answer as, this summation should be a finite value, or this summation should lead to a value which is less than infinity. Okay, so like in a like a theory point of view, or in an like in a words, how you have to write this thing is, like, you have to tell that for a stable LTI system, the impulse response should be absolutely summable. That is, it should give you a finite answer. Then only we can tell that the LTI system is stable. So we discussed about memoryless, causality and stability in terms of impulse responses, not in terms of input. We know about in relation with input, we know. This thing is in terms of impulse responses. Okay, so this is for a discrete time LTI system. Now, for a continuous time LTI system, we can tell that summation should be replaced with an integral. So some integral minus infinity to plus infinity. This is h of tau d tau. Okay, so modulus value of h of tau d tau should be finite. This is the condition for a continuous time LTI system to be stable. So this is completed. So now we are going to the next property, that is invertibility. So how can we tell that a system is invertible? We can tell this thing when your input to the system can be recovered from the output. That is, just think about like this. This is a system, its impulse response is h of t. The input, whatever we provided, is x of t. So I'm going to write the output of the system as y of t. Now, this y of t, I'm going to give to some other system, and after performing the convolution operation, I'm getting back my input signal itself. What was my first input signal? X of t itself. These kind of operations are available in a system, means that kind of systems are known as invertible system. Okay, so process of recovering x of t from y of t, that is, actually this y of t is a convoluted sequence. From this convoluted sequence, you are retrieving back your actual input signal, then that process is known as deconvolution. So the best example for this invertible system, I can tell it as a modem, high speed modem. So you can think like this: you are just applying some input, maybe voice. You just think about voice itself. Okay, so what is meant by modem? It is modulator plus demodulator. So you are giving some voice signals that is transferred, that will be converted into light, and it will be transferred to the optical fiber cable. At the receiving end, what is the light we are getting from the optical fiber? It will be again converted back to our voice signal itself, isn't it? So are you retrieving or are you recovering the same input signal whatever you provided earlier? These kind of systems are known as invertible systems. Now I'm going to write the equation for an invertible system. Now our output, complete output, is x of t. How can I write equation for x of t? Equation for x of t, I can write it as, what is the input here? Y of t. Y of t convolution h inverse of t, isn't it? Input, convolution, impulse response. So I can write x of t is equal to y of t convolution h inverse of t. Now tell me, what is y of t? Y of t is x of t convolution h of t. This is what only I wrote. Okay, x of t convolution h of t. This is my y of t. That y of t, again I am convoluting with h inverse of t. I am getting x of t itself. So can I tell this term, that is h of t convolution h inverse of t, as a unity matrix? Its value is equal to 1, or an identity matrix. So I can write that for an invertible system, h of t convolution h inverse of t will be 1, that is an impulse function. So this is the condition for an invertible system. Now we discussed about continuous time invertible system. This is the equation for a discrete time LTI system. H of n convolution H inverse of n is equal to del of n. So these are the properties of LTI system. Discussed about memoryless, causal, stability, and invertibility. Now I'm going to the last topic, that is step response. Step response of an LTI system. Okay, so first I'll tell you what is meant by step response. So if you are taking a system and you are going to give an input as a step function, input is step function itself, then you can tell that the output is a step response, that is response of the LTI system for a step input. Okay, so now assume a discrete time LTI system with an impulse response h of n. Okay, so how we will write output of an LTI system? We know that it is h of n convolution x of n. What I said here, I said that my input is step, then only I can tell that it's a step response. So instead of x of n, I should write it as u of n. Yes or no? So I can tell that step response or output of this LTI system is equal to h of n. H is your impulse function of your system. H of n convolution u of n, or I can expand this as h of k u of n minus k. Now I'll tell you how to find out u of n minus k value. Some people will be having some doubt, so that's why I included this diagram. So I said that we need u of n minus k. So in order to get u of n minus k, first you have to represent u of k. U of k means it will start at 0 and set plus infinity with a time axis as k. But we don't want u of k, we want u of k plus n. K plus n means it is time advancing, isn't it? We don't know about n value. It may be 10 or it may be 5. So I'm just writing that my step function, I'm just advancing and it is starting at n now. Here I wrote it as k plus n. That's why now it is starting at minus n now and it moves up to plus infinity. This is u of k plus n. Now we want u of minus k plus n. So minus k plus n means it is exactly the mirror image, isn't it? So just take the mirror image of this, that is all these things will go to the negative side and this thing will come at the positive side. That is, now my signal, previously my signal starts at minus n and ends at plus infinity. Now my signal will start at minus infinity and ends at plus n. So always keep this thing in mind. Okay, so from this only I wrote that equation. So we'll come back to this slide itself. So I think now you might have understood how we are writing u of n minus k. So like here you should think that property, that is if you have both time shifting and time scaling together, first you have to do the time shifting, then you have to go for time scaling. That's what I did here. Okay, so now I can write that u of n minus k is equal to 0 for k greater than 1. Sorry, greater than n, and u of n minus k will be equal to 1 for k less than n. So once again I'll take this graph. Now you see what is the value of u of n minus k. U of n minus k value is completely 1 up to which I have the value k value as n. If k value is greater than n, my u of n minus k is 0. I don't have any values here. So u of n minus k is 0. So this now you just see this, you can understand this equation, isn't it? So u of n minus k value is equal to 1 only when k is equal to, less than or equal to n. So I don't want this much big limit. I don't want to write it from minus infinity to plus infinity. I have a signal only from minus infinity and it ends at plus n. It's not going up to plus infinity. So I can change my summation as s of n, step response s of n is equal to summation k from minus infinity to plus infinity h of k. I don't want to write u of n minus k because the amplitude of u of n minus k is equal to 1 until k is equal to 1. So up to this n value, my u of n minus k is 1. So I can leave about that term. So this is the equation for step response. This is for a discrete time system. Similarly, for a continuous time system, this summation replace it into integral. So I can write that for a continuous time LTI system, S of t is integral from minus infinity to t h of tau d tau. Okay, so this is all about step response. So always keep it in mind. Step response means response of an LTI system to a step signal input. Your input x of n is u of n. Okay, keep this thing in mind. So this is all about the step response. So we completed two topics today, that is properties of LTI system and the step response of LTI system. Thank you.